It was hard, just like everything that we start doing when we're a beginner is hard and scary. Going live on social media for the first time was one of the done in my entire life. But here's the thing. You can't get good at something by just thinking about it. You can't get good at something by never trying. I'm going to face my fears. It's going to be unbelievably uncomfortable and unbelievably difficult. And that's exactly why I have to do it.
Welcome to the Jen Gottlieb Show.
Hello and welcome back to the Jen Gottlieb podcast. What's up? It's me, your host, Jen. And today we have a very special type of an episode for you. So those of you that don't know, I do happen to do an Instagram live every weekday, Monday through Friday. In the morning, while I put my makeup on, I always do Get Ready With Me Q&A. This is something that you can join regularly. There's not a specific time. You just kind of have to set the notifications on my profile to find out when I'm going live. And whenever I happen to be getting ready for the day, usually it's in the morning Eastern time, I go live and I answer all of your questions. So today we are going to be sharing with you a replay of one of the Get Ready With Me's that I found to be super, super, super powerful. So if you're listening to this on your headphones and you're on Apple iTunes or Spotify, if you hear some clanging in the background, it's probably my makeup being thrown in the drawer and dropping it. And if you hear me say scrolling through questions or talking to people live, that's why this is a recording of a live conversation. And if you're watching on YouTube, you actually get to watch me put my makeup on while I answer the questions. So I hope you enjoy this. Let me know if you do, if you want more replays of Get Ready With Me. I think that this topic or all of these topics that we discussed on this specific day are going to be really powerful, and I really think you're going to enjoy them. So without further ado, come and get ready with me. Hi fam, it's Friday, fun day, what's up? By the way, I say happy Friday, meaning it's just like another day of the week, not because it's like, yay, the week's over, because let's be real, every day is fun day if you want it to be a fun day and you decide that you can find the fun in the day. All right, welcome to Get Ready With Me, the very best place to be on the internet, not because of me, but because of this amazing community, as you can see, that we have here that come and we get ready together every single morning. Well, Monday through Friday, we do this together. And those of you that are new, welcome. My name's Jen. I'm not a beauty influencer. I'm not a makeup artist. I'm certainly not here to teach you how to do your makeup, but I do happen to put my makeup on and get ready for the day while I answer your questions to help you get ready for the best day you can have. This is about you getting ready, us getting ready together, and having a conversation. All right. It is Friday. It was my first official week back from all of the craziness of Build Your Brand Live. By the way, I just posted a reel today about the podcast that launched today on the Jen Gottlieb Show. And the podcast that launched today is it was a recording of the live panel that we did at Build Your Brand Live. Those of you that were there at the event and you witnessed that panel on day 3, I had Jason Phillips, Ben Newman, Adley, Stormy Wellington, Carrie Lee Brown, who is the editor-in-chief at Success Magazine. Those of you that were there know how crazy that panel was. You have to listen to this podcast. We put it on the podcast and we put it on YouTube so that everybody could witness what happened. I'm just going to talk about it really quick because it was crazy. So this was day 3 of our event. We had a 3-day event called Build Your Brand Live. And the event was just, those of you that were there know how magical it was. So we get to day 3, and those of you that were at the event, you'll appreciate hearing my behind the scenes insights of what was going on in my mind on that day. I had put together a panel on day 3 because I was like, how cool would it be if to get all my friends together and get them on stage? And these friends that I have happen to be very successful people that are also very inspiring and have a lot of really great insights. And I thought would help our attendees in a big way. And I wanted them all to be speakers, but we didn't have that many speaker spots. So I was like, let's do a panel. I've been on many panels in my life. Panels are really powerful, but panels are panels. Usually what a panel is everybody sits in a line with microphones and the person that's hosting asks a question or the audience asks a question and everyone goes around and they answer. And it's a great conversation, but it's not like a keynote, impactful, standing ovation, transformative moment, or at least I've never been part of a panel that was like that. I've been part of a lot of really great panels, but it's usually more of a learning experience than a transformative experience when you're interviewing people on a panel that are experts in something. So when I decided to host this panel, I thought in my mind, this will be a great thing, but I didn't think for 1 second that it was going to turn into what it turned into. And this is the great thing about hosting live events. This is the great thing about creation, about creating moments and opportunities and flying by the seat of your pants and just going for it. And this is also the great thing about asking the hard questions, asking the scary questions, opening up the space for people to be truthful and authentic and real instead of just wearing their mask. And so here we go. We're doing this panel at Build Your Brand Live. I introduced my 5 friends. They take their seats. And to be completely honest with you, I had some questions that were planned that I was going to ask. And when I sat up there, I decided to completely throw away the questions that I had planned to ask. I just didn't feel like asking them. I was like, I don't want to hear your tips on brand building. I actually want to hear, because these were very, very successful people on this panel. And when I was sitting there looking at them, I was thinking, everyone's probably looking at these people thinking, wow, they're so cool and they were so successful and they've done all these things. But I know, being their friend, that they are still very much a beginner at certain things, that they are definitely all have their insecurities, that they all have fears, that they all have situations or things going on in their life that maybe they're afraid of, or they're pushing through, or maybe that they feel like an imposter with, or maybe that they feel vulnerable about, that I don't think they ever really get asked that much about, because usually they're on panels or being interviewed on podcasts about their success and their tips for other people to have success. But what I really wanted to know myself as a viewer / listener / interviewer was, where are you feeling like a beginner right now? Like, where are you feeling like it's hard? Where in your life are you expanding and growing? Because I know that people that are successful and just like to achieve and like to accomplish stuff, and that's like one of their passions. And all 5 of these people that were up there, I know are very passionate about achievement, passionate about making a difference, passionate about hitting goals. Anybody like that is in the process of hitting the next goal. And so I didn't want to talk about necessarily all of the goals that they already achieved. I wanted to ask them, what are you working on now and how is it hard? Where are you struggling? Because I wanted to make sure that my audience knew, like, the whole theme of the event, or the theme for me in my keynote on day 1 was, it's okay to be a beginner. Everybody starts at 0. Everybody starts at 0. Even when they've mastered something, they then start a new project where they're a beginner again. And I wanted to know from these people that everybody looks at like they've got their shit together and they're just successful and that's it, and they never get nervous, they never have imposter syndrome, what they were specifically working on or feeling like a beginner at in that moment. And I wanted them to get vulnerable, and I wanted them to really share. And I really felt like we created a space at Build Your Brand Live that made them feel comfortable enough to open up. And let me tell you, they did. So I posted a reel that was just a little snippet of what happened on this panel, but basically it went out of control rogue. Like, when I say out of control rogue, we were all sitting like a normal panel would sit with the microphones and the whole thing. And Ben Newman, who's a really good friend of mine, unbelievable, inspirational speaker, I saw him fidgeting in his seat and I knew that he wanted to get up. Like, I felt it. I knew that he didn't just want to sit there. And I know Ben, I know, like, when I can't keep that guy sitting if he wants to stand. And I saw it and I felt it. And I asked this question. The question that I asked them was, where are you? I want you to share vulnerably right now. Where are you a beginner right now in your life? Where are you struggling? What are you working on? And every single person went down the line and shared very openly and very vulnerably about where they really were. And by the way, if you're like, oh my God, I want to see this, it's on the podcast today. So you can go see the Jen Gottlieb Show on YouTube or on your podcast app. So we get to Ben. And Ben is like, I got to get out of my chair. So I'm like, go, Ben, go, get out of your chair. I don't know. There's no rules here. Like, go, get out of your chair. So he goes and does this entire soliloquy, like this huge keynote, like breaks free and talks about like closing the gates and like making a statement. And it was so powerful. But here's the hard part. So Ben was not the last person to answer this question. He was the second to last. So Ben gets out of his chair and does this standing ovation performance on a panel. And Jason Phillips is last. So Jason has to follow that. And I felt bad for Jason because I was putting myself in his shoes and I was like, what do you do after somebody does that? Like, how do you answer the question after somebody gets out of their chair, does a mini keynote, and everybody in the entire audience is standing up and crying? Like, and then I'm like, Jason, okay. I just felt so bad for him. I was like, what are you? Go ahead. I mean, we don't have to follow up with that. You don't even have to say anything if you don't want to. I get it. And Jason had, I think, the most powerful moment, I think, personally, out of anybody, because in that moment, Jason Phillips, who's a dear friend of mine, very, very dear friend of mine. I'm actually going to be seeing him this weekend. We're going to go golfing. I've never golfed before, but I'm going to ride in the golf cart and golf with him. He had a transformation in that moment because he realized in that moment that he was, in fact, not Ben. He's like, and he got up and he's like, listen, I'm not Ben. There's nothing that I can do right now that's going to compete with what Ben just did. There's nothing that I can do. And he's like, but you want to know something? I never really felt worthy to be on a stage like this. I never really felt good enough to be amongst people like this ever. I do really good work and not many people know about it. In fact, I'm the least famous person standing up here on the stage. And I never really felt good enough until this moment right here, right now. Fuck that. And he was like, he just like went for it. And he had a transformation. He cracked open. He gave himself permission to finally see himself as the mentor and creator and amazing human that he is, and gave himself permission to do that in front of people, and it was unreal. I can't even explain. You guys have to watch the YouTube. By the way, if you have no idea who the hell I am, I didn't even do my introduction. Oh my God, who am I? We're on Friday of 5 lives in a row, and I figure you all know who I am, but that is cray-cray because there might be some of you who are here for the very first time. So welcome. My name's Jen. I'm an author. I wrote a best-selling book called Be Seen. This is the book. You can go grab it wherever you get your books. I'm an international keynote speaker. I'm a former actress, musical theater actress, and television actress turned entrepreneur. And now I help entrepreneurs. I help small business owners. I help people with a story that they want to share with the world. I help them build brands online. And we do that through our events, our education platform, our mastermind that we have, our communities that we build. And then get ready with me. I do this every day. I don't do it at the same time every day. I just do it when I happen to be getting ready and putting my makeup on. So if you want to get alerted when I'm going live, make sure you put the notifications on my profile to get notified. And if you want to watch the replays of these lives, I don't post them. I do, however, share them in my Facebook group. And if you want to be part of that free Facebook community, you can just DM me the word ready and I'll send you the link and you can join the Always Ready Facebook group where we all convene after this is over and I post the replay. Okay, let's get into the questions now. The effortlessly feminine. Hello, welcome to Get Ready With Me. So happy you're here. Were these lives hard for you at first? I did my first live yesterday and I was so nervous. Yes, times 1,000. Now, let me just tell you how ridiculous it was for me specifically because I just told you all that I'm a former actress. I spent the majority of my life training as an actor, musical theater, film, television. I went to school for musical theater. It's what I studied. I am a professional actor, and going live on social media for the first time was one of the scariest things that I have ever done in my entire life, and it was terrible. In fact, in my keynote that I do, if you ever hear me speak currently, in the current keynote that I do, I show a very powerful video that shows the first couple of, like, the evolution of the lives that I started doing, and it's bad. It's very bad. And so, yes, when I first started doing this, it was hard. Just like everything that we start doing when we're a beginner is hard and scary. Just like when you're a baby and you go take your first steps, you fall a bunch of times and you're not a great walker and you're not perfect at walking. But you get up and you keep walking and you keep practicing. And then before you know it, you're a human that's walking around and it's effortless and it's not hard anymore. Or like when you had your first I mean, there's so many things. When you rode a bike for the first time, right? I remember learning how to ride a bike. I had to have my training wheels, and then I tried to ride the bike, and my dad would push me, and then he would let go, and I would fall, and it was scary, right? And I was nervous, and I was afraid. Or maybe even the first time that I drove a car, I was also very scared, and I was really bad. I'm still not that good, but I got better over time. So you get the analogy. Whenever you try to do something new that you're a beginner at for the first time, whether that's going live on social media, which is not the easiest thing to do because we're afraid of, it's a very scary thing. It's a very vulnerable thing to put yourself out there in front of people and talk off the cuff and connect with people that are watching you. That is scary. That is like public speaking on steroids. And public speaking is one of the, I think it's like the top fear that people have is public speaking. So think about public speaking on the internet where you don't really know, you can't see who's watching you, and you are not prepared and you have to look at your own face. That's even harder. I mean, you don't have to. I guess you could flip the camera, but yeah, it's hard, dude. But here's the thing. You can't get good at something by just thinking about it. You can't get good at something by never trying. Imagine if you never tried to ride a bike. You would never eventually ride the bike. Imagine if you never tried to walk. You would never walk because you would never try. Gary Vee uses the analogy of you can't study push-ups. You have to go and do push-ups, and you're going to suck, and you're not going to be that strong in the beginning. Maybe you can only do one. You have to do it on your knees, or you have to do it against a wall. And then the more that you practice and the more that you do it, the stronger you become. And then you can do maybe 10, and then you can do maybe 20. And then push-ups don't feel hard anymore. They don't feel scary to do anymore. They feel super easy, like it's no big deal. That goes for absolutely everything. We get good at what we practice, including going live on social media. Fortunately and unfortunately, it's hard and it's scary. But I say fortunately because anything that's hard and scary is something that will prove to you on the other side just how confident you can become, just how capable you are, just how equipped you really actually are to do things that you're afraid to do. Every single time you do something you're afraid to do, not only do you prove to yourself that you actually can do the thing, so you become a little bit more confident in doing hard things. But there's always a million other, not a million, I don't want to like just be totally like, woo, what would the word be? I just used a woo for that. But like, yeah, a million zillion, I'm trying to not be so incredibly incorrect in the things that I say by exaggerating. But there are so many good things that happen. And there actually is science about the brain. I am not a neuroscientist at all, nor am I a scientist in any way, shape, or form, nor do I know that much about neuroscience, if that's even a word. However, I do listen to the Huberman Lab, and he talked a lot about this part of the brain that I decided to really dive into a lot called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. And it's the part of the brain that's responsible for willpower and tenacity and doing hard things. They did a lot of studies about it recently, and they found that people that have large anterior mid-cingulate cortexes, the parts of that part of their brain, are people that are high-performing CEOs and entrepreneurs, athletes, very successful people. And people that had that part of the brain that was smaller were people that were obese or sedentary. And what they found was that the more that you do hard stuff, so the more that you practice doing things that you really, really, really don't want to do, the more you activate that part of the brain, and the stronger it becomes, and the better you get at having more willpower and having more tenacity and going for the hard thing. So don't completely quote me on any of this. I'm just regurgitating what I learned, but I found this very, very, very fascinating. But here's what's interesting about that. So it's not just like, oh, you go to the gym and you build up your anterior mid-cingulate cortex. Because for me, going to the gym is not hard. For me, and for probably many of you, going to the gym is actually something that you truly enjoy, right? Going to the gym and pushing myself past my limits is also not hard. It's hard, but I enjoy it. I want to do it. even though it's hard. So that doesn't work. I'm talking about stuff that you really, really, really don't want to do. Maybe it's even also, I heard, like resisting something that you don't want to resist, like resisting eating the second cookie, or resisting scrolling social media, or resisting buying the expensive thing that you really want to buy, or resisting watching TV before you go to bed instead of reading a book like you said you were going to do, right? Like something you really don't want to do, or having the hard conversation. So here's a great example for me. Like there was a conversation that I really didn't want to have with somebody. Like I really didn't want to have it. And so this was like me pushing past, just like if you really don't want to go live, like it's very scary for you, it's terrifying. Think about, like, for me, this conversation that I had to have with someone was something that was so on my heart that I knew I had to have, and I really didn't want to do it. Like I really didn't want to. So I knew that if I pushed myself to do this hard thing, to have this hard conversation, and to get to the other side of it, that not only would I be growing my anterior mid-cingulate cortex part of my brain when it comes to having difficult conversations, but I would also probably free myself from the anxiety that this knowing that I had to have this conversation was producing within me, because it was producing severe anxiety just knowing that I had to have the conversation. So when the lead up to the thing that you're afraid to do is often what I find in my experience, the worst part of it. Once you do the thing, you free yourself from a lot of that anxiety and fear, because you just prove to yourself that you can do it. You spoke it out into the world. You let it be known. You faced it head on, and you said, screw you, fear. You've got nothing on me. I just did the thing. Right. And then, of course, I mean, we could go into the whole thing about having difficult conversations and how that frees everybody involved as well. But whatever. But that was something I really didn't want to do this week. And I did it. And after I did it, I was like, wow, when I have the hard conversation, when I just do it, and I'm honest, vulnerable, open, communicative, and mature, and don't react from a place of ego or having to be right, but really get curious about it and have the most mature conversation that I can possibly have while still protecting my boundaries at the same time, and also not being a people pleaser, because I'm very guilty of being a people pleaser and having conversations that I don't want to have, but just like laying down on the floor and saying, I'm so sorry for everything, even if I'm not really sorry for everything. That's a difficult thing for me. I definitely want to make everybody happy and make everybody feel good. So I'll just apologize for things all over the left and right and people please my little heart out. But I was like, I'm going to have a conversation that I'm really proud of, because I genuinely care about this relationship in a big way. So I'm going to have a mature conversation. I'm going to face my fears. It's going to be unbelievably uncomfortable and unbelievably difficult. And that's exactly why I have to do it. And at the end of that conversation, all of my anxiety that I was having that whole weekend about leading up to this conversation was gone. It was gone. It all went away. I was having anxiety about it. Like it was like that all day undertone of like heart beating, like anxiety, like shakiness. And it was just bothering me. It was like that thing on my shoulders, on my back that I knew I had to do. And I didn't want to do it. But when you do the thing you're afraid to do, you take away the power that it has over you. You take away the hold that it has on you, because you've like cleared the air. You've put light on it. You've allowed it to be seen. You've allowed it to be acknowledged. You've allowed it to be in the world, and you've proved to it that it's not really that big of a deal. And I proved to myself in that moment that I'm capable of having an unbelievably mature conversation, speaking my truth, and it's not going to kill me. So I went all over the map for your question. But yeah, I was scared the first time I did a live, and the second time, and the third time. But it got easier over time. And that goes for everything. Everything. It's all reps. And every time that you don't do the thing that you're afraid to do, it's just another day down that you're that much further away from being confident at the thing. No matter what, time doesn't stop. This day is going to end, whether you like it or not. It's going to end. You're going to lose this day. And so then you're going to be another day down where you didn't do the hard thing, and you're going to have to make up for that the next day. So you either start today or you start tomorrow. But if you start today, you're one day closer, right? This is the theme of the week. This is the theme. Lots of people asking me questions like this one. So let's talk about it. Okay, I want to completely rebrand my social media. Would you recommend deleting my existing posts and starting from scratch? I feel like my current page doesn't represent my day-to-day and how I want to show up in the world. I need to take a first step, but I don't know where to turn. Okay, so my word of the year this year is evolution. The reason that I chose that word is because I really want to start embracing the evolution of life. the evolution of me. The fact that everybody that I find interesting, that I follow or that I'm a fan of, I found them interesting and I follow them because I've enjoyed watching their transformation. I enjoy watching the hero's journey. I enjoy watching somebody go from point A to point D, or go from what they used to do to what they do now. That's why people love watching movies. That's why people love watching documentaries. They like to see the transformation. They like to see the start of the story. They like to see somebody go from, the first thing I'm thinking about, and this is a terrible example, but it's a story of a transformation, like Wolf of Wall Street. The Wolf of Wall Street guy, like you see him start as somebody that is just like, doesn't make any money. He's like just walks into this place and learns how to do like penny stock trading, and he's just like miserable and drives a crappy car. And you watch this evolution, it actually goes very far downhill. But either way, you're fascinated by watching the evolution of him, the evolution of the growth and the change and making more money and becoming this person. And I'm not like, this is a terrible example. Put this example in the form of like watching a really inspirational transformation. Like this was a downfall transformation, but either way, you couldn't take your damn eyes off the screen. It was fascinating. It was interesting because you saw the evolution and the transformation. Now, this is why I think that everybody's social media, you should leave up all your old shit. I leave up all my old stuff on the internet. It's all up there. That metal show days, my wedding singer days, my wedding singer meaning the Broadway show that I was in, that I traveled the country with. Jason's on here. He was in that show with me. I leave it all up on the internet. It's not what I do now. It's not who I am now. But your start is your story. Your mess is your message. People are going to relate to you because they see the journey and the transformation and the evolution of who you are. Think about all of the celebrities that we love to follow, like Lady Gaga or Taylor Swift or Beyonce. Every time they come out with a new album, they have a new evolution of who they are. Do they delete all their old albums because it doesn't align with their evolution of who they are now? Beyonce just came out with a country album. If she decides that she wants to be a country artist from now on, do you think she's going to go delete Crazy in Love? Like she never did it? Like, don't listen to Crazy in Love. I'm a country girl now. I would never create that song now ever again. So I'm deleting it off the face of the planet so you can never see it. No. I love to see old school Beyonce, Crazy in Love, and then see the evolution of her new song that's more of a country song. The Taylor Swift album or the Taylor Swift tour that just made more money than any tour on the history of the planet is called Eras. The reason it's called Eras is because she takes you through all the different eras of her life, all the different chapters of her story. That's what's fascinating. That's what we love about Taylor. We love to watch her evolution. We love to watch all her ex-boyfriends. We love to watch all the different songs that she wrote. We love to see the old stuff that wasn't that good. Like one of my favorite things to do is to scroll back to the beginning of somebody's old content and see what they used to be. It makes them seem way more human. We are human beings and we evolve. And one of my favorite books of all time is called The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. And in that book, he talks about art being a snapshot of where you are in the current moment. So art could be your social media. Art could be a book. Art could be a song. Art could be whatever your art is. It could be sports. It could be business. For me, I'll give you an example for me. So art, my book. So this was a snapshot, this book and this moment in time in my life when I was writing this and when I wrote this was a snapshot of where I was in the moment. Does this book represent exactly who I am today, right now, in this moment of time? No, I've evolved. Yes, many of these things a lot of these are my stories. Those will never change. A lot of these are things that I absolutely still believe in. And a lot of these things are things that I said then that have evolved and changed now. Does this mean because it's not completely aligned with who I am now and who I'm turning into that I'm going to delete this book from the face of the planet, take it off every bookshelf and delete all the content that I made about this book? Hell no. This was a snapshot of who I was then. And everything that I do now is building off of that to create who I'm becoming. And that's what's fun. You are the niche. That's what's interesting. You guys come live with me every day and you watch me evolve day in and day out. You watch me change my opinion on things. You watch me start to talk about different topics and different things. And the next book that I write will be probably completely different. In fact, the next book that I write is going to be about an experiment that I'm going to do that has absolutely nothing to do with branding or social media or any of that. Or maybe it does. Maybe it does. We'll see. But it is another evolution. It's another era. It's another moment in time. It's a snapshot. And you would be doing yourself such a disservice, I think, or at least I never give direct advice here because I don't know your specific situation in your life, but because there's always nuance. There's always. But to delete your old content of who you were, because that is part of what made you who you are today. So when I talk about content or message pivoting, I call it message pivoting, shifting into talking about something new, evolving into the next version of who you are. It's all about connecting your start to your story, connecting the dots for people, creating new content and say, hey, I know I used to talk about this, but now I'm going to talk about this because I'm really interested in it. So you're going to see content from me that still talks about some of my old stuff that I'm interested in, but now I'm going to start talking about this too. So get excited. I'm really enthusiastic about this. I might not be an expert yet, but this is where we're headed. And connect the two together and take people along the journey of the evolution of who you're becoming. That's ultimate brand. We love brands like Nike because you can go back and you can see the first Nikes that were ever created. There's movies and books written and, created all about how that brand started, like vintage Chanel, vintage Nike Air Jordans, vintage Louis Vuitton is much more expensive than some of the shoes that are coming out today. And that has a lot to do with nostalgia. That has a lot to do with the evolution of the brand and how it evolved past that, what makes it interesting. I love going online and looking at the old stuff of me. Yeah, it's a little embarrassing. It's totally cringe. Like when I look at my videos from that metal show and I see like my platinum blonde hair that was falling out and like so damaged because I would just bleach it all the time. And there was no light behind my eyes when I was talking to the camera because I didn't give a shit about what I was talking about and I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. Like watching that is hard to watch, very, very hard to watch. But I'm glad it's up there because it shows people where I came from. It shows people, and I think that it just gives me even more credibility for who I've become today. And I would never take down a post. I would not. Unless, of course, nuance. Unless there is something that you said that you're not proud of, that you made a mistake, that you said something, you know what I'm saying? That's the reason too. But if you're just repivoting your brand, no one's like got a perfect life. That's not reality. No one's got the most perfect fonts and colors that stay their fonts and colors and stay their messaging forever. Like when you're a 30-year-old professional and you have certain values in life that are very specific, you're going to be a completely different person then than when you step into motherhood and you start having kids and you're a mom. Like I've seen so many of my friends go from like single woman, I'm just using women as an example, single woman, entrepreneur, hustling hard, girl, boss, nothing going on in their life except their business, and that's all they focused on, to then watching the evolution of them meet their soulmate, get married, have a baby, and now they talk about different stuff that has to do with being a mom and a parent. It's so fun to watch the evolution and the growth of that person. I love that I was on the journey with them. I feel so much closer to them, so much more connected to them. And I love going back and being able to see who they were back in the day. That's inspiring to me. So no, I wouldn't recommend, but you can do whatever you want. There's no right or wrong way to do anything. You go do you. If you feel like you want to delete everything, that's your journey. And maybe one day you'll create a piece of content about that. Like I went back and I deleted everything and I started over and here's what happened as a result. That could be cool. So as a 17-year-old going to college this year, congratulations. That's awesome. Welcome to Get Ready With Me. You are already way ahead of where I was when I was 17 because you're watching stuff like this. You're interested in self-growth. That's amazing. I was not interested in self-growth when I was 17. So bravo, my love. Bravo. Wow. What should you know? If I was going back to my 17-year-old self, I would tell myself to read more books. And now, like when I was 17, we didn't have social media. So we didn't have like all this content and podcasts and YouTube videos that you could watch. There was none of that. So all there was for me was books, and I never read. I didn't read anything. All I cared about when I was 17 is being cool, hanging out with the cool kids, being popular, people liking me, making sure that I was skinny enough, pretty enough at the cool parties. That's all I cared about. And if I could go back to that 17-year-old girl and tell her anything, I would say none of that shit matters in the grand scheme of things. Be a good person, educate yourself, read, explore, What you're doing now probably won't be what you do in the future, but the dots are always going to connect. They're all making you who you're becoming. And if you're into personal growth and you're 17 and you just want to start exploring, there are so many fantastic podcasts, so many fantastic YouTube channels. There's so many fantastic books. There's so much to explore, and you've got all the time in the world. Thank God for modern medicine. If nothing bad happens, we're going to live a lot longer than we ever did before. And so you've got plenty of time to explore every area and to find what interests you and what lights you up. And everyone has been given gifts or interests that are in our heart, in our soul. You know what they are when I say that. If I say that and something lights up for you, whether it is something that you've known about for a while or maybe something that you've kept dormant in your soul, I believe that those are the things that we should really dive into and explore more. And so if you're interested in something, go grab a book on it, watch a YouTube, download a podcast. For me, podcasting is the easiest, or audiobooks are really easy for me too, because I don't really love to sit down and read, but I love to walk. So I will walk and listen to so many audiobooks. The books that I could recommend to you right off the bat, if you want to start getting into personal development, the first ones that are coming to my mind is The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, fantastic book. The Creative Act by Rick Rubin, amazing book. Into the Magic Shop by Dr. Doty, fantastic. And he's got a new book called My Magic. Haven't finished that one yet, but his first book, Into the Magic Shop, was just, I could not stop listening to it. So fantastic. I would read The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. Very old book, but fast, easy read. And I would go old school, and I would also read The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn, I believe. Her name is Florence. It's a very old book written in the 1920s by a woman about the law of attraction. The Game of Life and How to Play It. Unbelievable book. I would read stories of people who have done the thing that you want to do. I love reading memoirs. Absolutely love it. Shoe Dog by the guy who created Nike, Phil Knight. Great book. I also really like the podcast How I Built This. If you're interested in becoming an entrepreneur, if you're interested in building something, Guy Raz is the host, and he interviews some of the biggest companies, like founders in the world. All the stories that he chooses are stories of where people had to overcome some sort of really terrible thing in their business. And the reason that I love hearing those stories is because life is not without struggles and failures and mess ups and slip ups. It is not. And sometimes you look at big companies and big successful people and founders of major things, and you feel like, oh, it's just so easy for them. It was not. And I love hearing the behind the scenes stories of the things that people had to overcome in order to create some of the biggest brands and businesses that we know today. Some of them almost didn't get created. Some of them had serious miracles from God and the universe happen for them in order for them to be successful. Some of them had several companies before they launched the actual company that hit, that all failed before. And we don't necessarily see all of that. So I really, really, really love shows like How I Built This. And if I was young, a 17-year-old, I would be just consuming all of those types of books. Oh, another one that I would really like for a 17-year-old is 12 and a Half by Gary Vaynerchuk. Now, he just came out with a new book called Day Trading Attention, which is also fantastic. That's more of a textbook about social media marketing, which is great. But his book 12 and a Half, that didn't get as much, I don't think it got as much noise as it deserved. It's all about leadership and how to be a great person and business. And I really, really, really loved that book. I listened to that again and again and again. So there you go. But you're on your way, kid. It's a really cool time to be alive. Oh, last thing, I would learn AI. Full stop. I would play with it every day, and I would become very, very, very familiar with AI, what it does, how to work it, how to use it. Because AI is not going to come and take over the world and take everybody's jobs. However, people that know how to use AI and understand AI and know how to work AI and know how to prompt AI and are on the cutting edge of what's happening in AI will take people's jobs. Full stop. So I would focus on that too. Advice for starting in speaking. Yes. Okay. So we talk about this a lot here on Get Ready With Me because I'm a speaker. One of my goals is to become the greatest that there is. And with that comes It's really hard. It's not easy. In fact, right now I'm in the middle of doing a TED Talk, and that's harder than I thought it would be. Just going to be totally honest with you. That's real hard. Especially someone that's an actress and likes to talk off the cuff. Hard, but we're doing it. Anyways, okay, how do you get started in speaking? The first thing that I would do is if you want to speak at events, I would attend events. I would meet people in the room. I would befriend event planners. I would build relationships with people that go to events, that host events, that hire speakers for events, and I would watch other speakers and I would study them and become friends with them and learn from them and provide value to them and create relationships with them, because opportunities come from people. Speaking engagements come from relationships. That's where they come from. You've got to get the opportunity in order to practice. That's the hard thing. So actually, you don't have to get the opportunity in order to practice nowadays, because now we have this great stage that we have in our pocket. So the way that I practice speaking, because I don't get a stage every day, especially when I first started, I was not getting, like even what I'm getting now, which is I speak probably 3 to 4 times a month, but I definitely didn't do that before. And so I needed to practice telling my stories, and I needed to get my reps in. Just like we talked about earlier, we get good at what we practice. And with speaking, oh my gosh, it's all about repetition. It's all about practice. It's all about telling your stories again and again and again and again and again, and getting really, really confident with you speaking out loud in front of people, not just to the mirror, not just to yourself, not just to your friends, but to people. And so social media is a really great way to do that with going live. Like right now, we've got 68 people here. So envision if there were 68 people in a room and I was on a stage and I was speaking to you. There's really 68 people here and I'm speaking on a stage to you. So right now I'm practicing speaking. So if I were just starting out, never spoke on a stage before, here's what I would do. I would go to as many events as possible. I would invest in that. And I would get in the room and I would sit in the front row and I would be the best audience member that anyone has ever seen. And I would network with everybody that was there. That's number 1. Build relationships. Number 2, I would also be practicing telling my stories and seeing what resonates on social media on live. I would go live. You don't have to put your makeup on while you do it. You can go live fully done up and answer questions, tell stories, talk about stuff, and see where people lean in. See what questions people are asking you, see what topics you want to talk about, see what's the most interesting to people, see the lean-ins, right? And I would build my keynote, and then I would get the opportunities. So then I would use those relationships that I was building, and I would say, hey, I really want to speak. I would speak for free. I would get my butt on as many stages as possible to get the reps, to get the practice, but most importantly, to get the footage. If you are starting out as a speaker and you want to become a successful speaker, do not take an opportunity without videoing that shit. Because the first thing that people are going to do that are thinking about hiring you for their stage is they're going to go to your social media to see if you have chops, to see if you can speak. And if you don't have any video of you speaking and you're not creating content and representing yourself as a speaker online, no one's going to know that you're any good. No one's going to know that you want to speak. No one's going to see you as a speaker. So if you look at my social, you'll see that the majority of my content, I won't go a week without posting a video of me speaking, because it's not necessarily for the algorithm to show people that I'm a speaker. It's for when somebody is thinking about hiring me or inviting me to speak on their stage, they can then go to my social and see footage of me speaking and say, oh, wow, she is actually pretty good. Or, oh, she does speak on a lot of stages. Your social media is like your online resume. How do you want people to see you? How do you want people to view you? If you want to be a speaker, you need to post content of you speaking. So if you get an opportunity to speak, take it, even if it's for free, even if you have to pay to be on that stage. I know a lot of people sometimes, I don't think that this is always the best thing for everybody, but I do know people that have paid to be on stages, and it has helped them in a big way because they were able to get the content of them being on that stage. They were able to get in front of that audience and get those reps, but most importantly, get the video. And that video can be used to book other stages. So I don't think that that's a terrible idea. You just have to be really careful on who you do that with and what stage it is, and make sure it's totally worth it. I hope you have an amazing weekend. I love you all so much, and I will see you. Monday's Mastermind Day, so not quite sure if I'll see you Monday, but I probably will. Love you guys. Bye.